TIFU by jumping off a pier to impress a girl. Okay, so let us all go back to when I was 16. A friend, let's call him John, had asked me to attend the wedding of his mother, who was getting remarried. I didn't particularly care about his mother, but I did however care about his absolutely drop-dead gorgeous cousin, let's call her Sansa. Well, rumor had it that she was going to be at the wedding, and rumor had it also that she might even like me. I made that rumor up. So we head down to a town on the beach where the wedding will take place about a day early. Everyone is staying at this swanky-ass hotel on the water with a cool pier going out into the Gulf. I foresaw romantic nights under the stars on the end of the pier, passionately kissing Sansa as we held each other through the night. Unfortunately, my foresight was about as useless as a blind person using glasses to read. So all us younger folk all end up hanging out. John, Sansa, her friend, let's call her Jane, some other cousin, let's just call him Brandon, and I walking and talking down the pier. Well, one topic led to the next, and there we are in the middle of a hot and steamy game of truth or dare. I was reeling to have a go at getting dared to kiss Sansa, so I dared John to kiss Jane. They kissed, and it was awkward and clumsy, seeing as how they weren't really attracted to one another. So I am up next, and I am thinking I just set myself up perfectly. Now my great friend John will dare me to kiss Sansa, and it's game on from there. I'll be running the bases like Babe Ruth. Nope. Not at all. Lo and behold, John isn't such a good friend after all. He dares me to jump off the goddamn pier. The girls are giggling, and John and fucking Brandon are fist-pumping, chanting "do it" as I struggle with this betrayal. I look to Sansa, who surely wouldn't want me to jump off the pier into the murky water for comfort. To my dismay, she started chanting along with the rest of them. So I figure I'll have to jump at this point if I am wanting to move from first base with Sansa. I look over the edge, and it's about 15 feet, roughly 5 meters or so down to the water. The water is grayish-brown, and I haven't the slightest clue as to how deep it was, but hey, I am 16 and there's a super hot girl waiting for me to do something super cool. So I stand on the edge and take a second to ponder the style of jump I will perform. I think about doing a full-on head-first dive, but change my mind and stick to the OLE legs first, fingers on the nose dive. Up I go, and down into the water with a splash. I am now in the water, and I noticed something wasn't quite right, but I am not sure what it is. I look up, and my spectators all have a look of horror on their faces. I am thinking to myself, this isn't good, but I am a fucking optimist, so I brush it off and start swimming back to shore, which is a good long way off. As soon as I kick my legs to swim, I notice one of my feet feels a little weird. It's not really responding, and kinda just dangly. I roll over in the water and now understand why John, Sansa, Brandon and Jane look like they had seen ghosts. The water had turned a very dark blackish red where I had jumped in. Not a good sign, but I am still a fucking optimist at this point and say, hey, it can't be that bad. So I swim like a thrashing wildebeest in the Nile back to the shore. When I finally arrive, I drag myself out of the water and attempt to stand. When I bring my dangle foot up and out of the water, blood torrents from the bottom of it like a waterfall. At this point, I am no longer an optimist and don't feel so good about my current predicament. So all the beachgoers are crowding me, and someone takes their shirt off and wraps around my foot, which only slightly helps with the blood. An ambulance hoo-hoos its way into the nearest parking lot, and the paramedics rush out to me with a stretcher. I get on, and they load me up and cart me off to the hospital. On the way, I describe what had happened, and the paramedic informs me, while he is inspecting my foot, that the pier has battering piles, which are just multiple poles that go out at an angle to support the pier in the water, and that a fun little creature called the barnacle, with razor-sharp shells, like to attach themselves to them. I mean, this motherfucker went full David Attenborough on me while I am bleeding out in the back of his hoo-hoo van, so I just sit there in agony and listen. Then out of the fucking blue he yanks something out of my foot, and I about passed out from the pain. Apparently, I had a large barnacle stuck near the end of my gaping foothole, and he was just distracting me so I wouldn't be aware of his sneaky ass paramedic shenanigans. Well, I get to the emergency room and they start fixing me up. I guess I did a real number on myself, seeing as how I had to get 96 stitches and severed a couple of my nerves too. Well, John's whole family came one by one to see me at the hospital, and wished me well. Then finally Sansa showed up. She looked me dead in the face and said, "I can't believe you actually jumped. Like, what the fuck did you think I was going to do? I am a horny ass 16-year-old male. I'd have jumped out the 5th-story hotel window if I knew I had a chance to get some ass." So she left me, and I sat there in the hospital like a damn fool and missed the wedding. I never saw Sansa again after that. TLDR, went to a wedding on the beach, was dared to jump off a pier, severely injured myself. Didn't impress the girl, missed the wedding. TIFU, by making my parents' bed. NSFW. This actually happened today, but throw away for obvious reasons. Yesterday, my parents left for a week-long vacation, and asked me if I would come home to dog sit since I have the summer off as a teacher, so I kissed my fiancé goodbye and drove down to Kentucky for the week. Now, a bit of backstory: my parents are super religious, both were pastors' kids and met at a small religious college. I nearly got disowned when my fiancé and I moved in together after 5 years of dating. We literally have separate bedrooms in our house so they can pretend like we don't share a bed to avoid a scandal back home. You get the idea. Premarital sex is a no. Porn is a no. Sex is shrouded in shame in their world. Well, when they aren't home, their dogs sleep in their room, and this morning when I went to let them out, I noticed that Rocky, our old Saint Bernard, had had an accident in the night. So I wash the sheets and give Rocky a bath while they're drying. Then I go to make the bed with the fresh sheets, and that, friends, is where I fucked up. I lift up the corner of the mattress to tuck the fitted sheet, and underneath the mattress is a set of those under the bed bondage straps. Like these, I dropped the mattress and walked away. At some point tonight I'll have to work up the courage to go finish making the bed so the dogs will have somewhere to sleep. Like, on one hand, good for my parents, I guess. Like, glad they are living their best life, or whatever. But on the other hand, I wish to God I'd never seen that, for all the obvious reasons of it's like walking in on my parents without them even being there, but especially because a few years ago I bought me and my fiancé almost an identical set of restraints that currently reside under our mattress, and I don't think I will ever be able to use them again. Because if there's one thing that'll ruin your kink, it's finding out that you share it with your parents. TLDR, found my parents' bondage restraints while trying to make their bed and happened to also own the same set of straps. TIFU, by making my pet fish swim in spicy water. New Redditor and first-time poster on mobile, so forgive me for any formatting/grammatical errors. TLDR at the bottom. This foo is more so my parents than mine, but I definitely had a part to play in it. It all started 2 nights ago. My parents were having guests over the following day for lunch and asked me to fill up the water tank. Since it gets loud when the pump drops water onto the water below it, I filled up the water somewhat high, but nothing out of the ordinary. All is well, and I decide to call it a night. I wake up the next day to both my parents telling me about the miracle that happened after I fell asleep. My single fish is a small cory catfish, and anyone familiar with them knows they often dash up to the surface for air. Shortly after I went to sleep, my parents walked near the tank to see my fish on the floor. Since I just filled the tank, they figured he must be jumped right out and onto the floor. My dad thought it was a wrap, but my mom decided to put him back in the slight chance of a miracle happening. They wake up the next day to see him swimming around like usual. What a relief. The little guy must be put up one hell of a fight. The following day my parents are telling their friends who came over about what they did and how amazing this miracle was. Fast forward to 15 minutes ago. I come home from my friend's place and decide to feed my fish before sleeping, as I always do. I see something on the top of the tank hidden in the corner. The fuck is that? My heart drops and I am shocked. Did he die because of the trauma he must be had from being out of the water? I look closer and I see what looks like my fish curled up on his side, but I decide to look at the bottom of the tank in a small battleship I have for him anyways to confirm. I see him inside. What a relief. Again. I look back up. The fuck is that then? I inspect it closer. What my parents so miraculously saved was in fact a chili pepper. My foo? Not noticing sooner. I must be noticed about 48 hours after the pepper was put in. The pepper was soggy and curled, giving the appearance of what could be a fish. My fish has been swimming in chilly water for 2 days. All I can hope is that he'll be okay. Changed a bunch of water and made sure the water condition is better. TLDR. Filled up water tank since it got low 2 nights ago. Parents saw my fish on the floor an hour later. Decided to put him back in the tank anyways, hoping for a miracle only to see him swimming around the next day. Fast forward to today and I see what looks like a dead fish, only to realize what my parents saved was a chili pepper. My fish was swimming in spicy water for 2 days. Sorry Mr. Fashi. Edit. Thank you to everyone letting me know about him needing tank buddies. I actually had another one recently, but he unfortunately passed away when I was moving homes. I will definitely be heading out to my local fish store to get him some buddies. Thanks again. Guess that's my second foo. Also spelling TIFU by not going to the ER after a 6-hour erection. Well, my penis wouldn't go down after 6 hours. No, I did not take erectile dysfunction drugs, although I did do that 4 years ago, so they had to inject needles in me and remove the blood. The following morning the same thing happened, so I went back to ER for a second round. I think the doctor during the first injections didn't remove enough blood, so that may be why my penis was hard the next day and I had to go back and get more injections done. I will be seeing a specialist next week for my penis, as right now it's even bigger than it was before and won't stop erecting. Let me know if anyone of you have questions. Also please keep the jokes and remarks to yourselves. I have heard them all and this is actually a very painful condition and not sexual in any way. Thanks again. Warning: these pics are gross. At the hospital. The aftermath of bruising wouldn't go down, caused more pain and issues by not going to ER sooner. TIFU by trusting my co-workers with money. I'm a bartender. I've been working with the same people for a couple of years now. The 2 people I'm about to talk about got hired at the beginning of this bar opening with me. Like I said, it's been about 2 years. These 2 girls have been an incredibly huge part of my life ever since. We have pretty much been inseparable since we became friends during opening. Today I worked a double. I opened. There's always just one person during the day shifts and that was me today, and I was slammed. It's summer break. We are a bar arcade, so I didn't get to stock everything I needed to prepare night shift. At 5:00 when my night shifters got to work, instead of taking a break I took that time to finish the things I couldn't to prepare night shift fully. And then instead of taking a break after that, I went ahead and got back behind the bar and started working because they were busy and I couldn't leave them in the weeds. To finish up, we got our asses kicked after my 12 straight hour shift with no break. I finally was cut, so I did my side work, and before I was ready to clock out I went to our till ready to do the 3-way split. Since the way we do things, we just take the entire place and split it, and a bunch of credit card tips were missing. To summarize, my co-workers had tried to hide over $150 in credit card tips to try and not split with me. And I am so fucking upset, my heart felt like it could explode, and I'm pretty sure I just lost my best friends, but also fuck both of them. TLDR, my bartenders / best friends / co-workers tried to steal over $150 from me after I worked a 12-hour shift today, and I'm fucking upset about it. Holy shit, this blew up. Hi Reddit, I have a couple updates to questions I saw, but first want to say thank you to everyone who is showing me support and giving me some really good advice. I had a good night's rest and time to cool down and think more rationally about what conspired last night. Update 1: yes, I did get my money. This was after I had noticed when I went to do the split that there were multiple credit card payments missing their tips, which you can enter in at any time. Side note, it had been about an hour before we entered in any more tips because we were actually pretty busy focusing on other things. And for my fellow bartenders, we split tips after all your early out shit is done because we still talk to bar guests while doing it. Also, yes, I did confront them and ask them why they both did it the second I figured out what had just went down. Neither of them really wanted to face the situation. So I took the hidden credit card tips and split them 3 ways and fucking bounced. Also, now I'm a girl. As for the cash tips, who the fuck knows? They could have swiped some of that too, but I'll never know. The 3 of us are gonna have a meeting about this after a long group chat message I sent just between the 3 of us. I'm gonna basically let them explain themselves before going straight to the owners, and hopefully communication can be handled in a more positive light moving forward. I was scheduled to work after my morning shift as a double. Everyone was well aware of that. I'm getting questions as if I just voluntarily stayed to eat into their tip pool. Hell no, I was scheduled to open and then work an early out night shift. I will update after our meeting.